Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. As excited as I am to do another shoe review for you, I'm a little bummed because I was unable again to get my microphone to work. So audio quality, still not the best. Bear with me here, stay tuned because I will eventually figure it out. I may just have to get one of those little teeny handheld mini mics because they're cute, one, and two, maybe a little more practical than the situation that I have. We'll see, to be determined. So hopefully in the upcoming weeks, we'll have some better, updated, more improved audio quality for you. All right, so today I'm reviewing a pair of shoes that is from a brand that is very, very new to me. Similar to what I did for the Lululemon shoe review, this brand is a tad bit more solely runner focused. So a lot of the products that they have are designed for runners to use, especially in the clothing realm. Now, these are supposed to be very, very high-end quality materials that are used to make up everything that they have. They really stand by their quality promises. So today, I am reviewing none other than Tracksmith Eliot Runner shoe. Let's get into it. First of all, let's talk about this packaging. This is giving like polo vibes almost, I feel like. Or is that the brand I'm thinking of? Longchamp? Or no, maybe Champ? I don't know, something. Maybe you'll know what I'm talking about here, but like really, really nice packaging, boxing. Like this doesn't feel like a pair of running shoes that I'm about to be opening here, but nonetheless, I'm pretty excited because I'm really branching out. I want to go all over the grid, if you will, to figure out some really solid running shoe options that I can recommend to you that I can use myself during my training program that I'm entering into. And just in general, trying to get out of my comfort zone. So this pair of shoes was their like flagship running shoe. The brand was founded a little bit over a decade ago, and these shoes came out in like 2022, 2023. So for you all, it may not be that new, but for me, this company is like totally new, so this is a new shoe for me. They did come out with a racer version of this, so it's a plated option. It is about $100 more. I would love to try that out as well. That one came out about a year ago. So if I like these, I may be working my way over to try that racer. I feel like I just got a PR box. I did not. I bought these, but this is really cool out of the gate. As you can see, we have another neutral shoe here, but pops of color for those who complain that I have too much neutral going on. Well, listen here, okay? I love neutral, and that's okay. I don't need to have it to be all fancy schmancy all the time. But this shoe is a really clean looking shoe. I will say my initial impression here is this does not look like a running shoe. This looks like I'm gonna throw on a nice pair of shoes and a cute little outfit and go hit the town and walk around. Now, I think there's going to be some surprises here with this shoe, and I'll talk a little bit about kind of the overall make of the shoe and how it has led itself to be potentially a solid daily training option. But look at this. Like this looks like something that I would not run in, at least from my experience. But maybe they're breaking the mold a little bit in what a traditional running shoe sort of looks like. We'll see. Like I said, this is considered a daily trainer. It has Pebax foam. It is very, very firm and dense here. It is supposed to be very responsive and peppy, but there is supposed to be a good amount of cushioning here. So they did something a little bit different than the traditional running shoe, and that is in the internal footbed of the shoe. So in the internal footbed of the shoe, they actually created triple the thickness of what a normal running shoe is like, and that is supposed to help with some of that cushioning feeling without feeling mushy. So you know when you step into a shoe and it feels like you're sinking in. So we're not going to have that, but allegedly we're going to have some of that comfort initially once you put on the shoe, but it's not going to impact the performance and responsiveness of the shoe. It's not going to give you that sinking in feeling. They do have about, I think like 6 or 7 different colorways. They're all very clean and classic looking. Some of the differentiators here will be in this band right here. There's a suede component around the upper here that goes all the way around, which again is not really typical for a running shoe. Like having suede material, I'm not sure the purpose. I think we're going for more of like that clean aesthetic versus like practical necessarily. That doesn't mean it's going to be a negative thing. I'm just saying, let's be real. When you run in running shoes, and of course I go for the lighter colors, they're going to get dirty over time. So suede, I feel like, is going to be an issue for that, where it's going to be absorbing more of that dirt and grime when you're out and doing your daily miles. But I could be wrong. So it's an interesting choice here, but from like initial glance, it looks great. But Curious to see how that holds up over time. This does have a 9mm heel to toe drop here, so a little bit more than what I'm most comfortable with. However, I have not really, gosh, I don't want to say ever, but I don't believe I have, maybe once, run in a 9mm drop shoe. It's usually like my 6 to 8 range or 10. So we'll see how this goes. I don't think it's not going to be that different between the 8 and the 10. But curious to see, because when you look at this, you're like, I don't see much of a rocker. I don't see much of a drop. I think it's all embedded in here. So it's a little bit secretive. And I think that that's what gives it that kind of more casual looking shoe from afar. But then you've got the meat and potatoes on the inside. Does anyone say that? I do. It's fine. There is an engineered mesh upper here. This feels very, very malleable and breathable. I feel that this is going to be a solid, breathable shoe for running. And it goes all the way around, as you can see here. So definitely no issues where I'm going to feel like there's too much material here. The heel collar here is pretty durable overall, but not too much padding here where it's going to, again, impact that temperature for me. The weight of the shoe, so a men's US size 9 does come in at 9.2 ounces, and the women's size 7 comes in at 7.4 ounces. So for me, it's kind of middle of the pack. I love a shoe that's going to be like low 7s, upper 6s. So this is not too far off from what I really enjoy running in. It is considered a little bit of a lighter shoe overall. And for a daily trainer, I think that it's probably pretty spot on. Price point for these, this is $198 US. We'll talk a little bit more about the price point at the end of the video, and I'll talk about my thoughts for that. Something really cool about this brand for their shoes is they do have a 100-mile guarantee. So you can take these shoes out, beat them up for up to 100 miles or 30 days, whichever comes first. Now, if you're regularly running, 100 miles will probably come before the 30 days, potentially, especially if you're solely focusing on using these and trying different style runs in them. And they really stand behind their quality, like I said, and that you will love them. Because of that, if they don't work out for you, it's free returns even after being used. 100 miles is pretty good. I mean, if you think about that, the life of a shoe, depending on the shoe, can go from like 3 to 500, and that's like almost 1/3 of the way there on the low end of it. So yeah, definitely curious to see how these hold up. I do want to do a few runs in them so I can really get my bearings and understand what I like about them, how I like to run in them, and how they perform in different types of runs. But for today, I'm going to be focusing on doing around that 5-mile run and taking it through my paces. I do have on my calendar for my running program today a progressive run, which I feel like is perfect for these because then I get to start off at that easier, slow pace and then build upon that, and then getting it up to a very fast, beyond tempo run, really even, is kind of what I'm going to gun for today. So I'll be able to tell you how these perform at all those different paces. Not sure how I feel about the traction here. It's nothing that's like wowing me out of the gate. It does feel like it could be a little bit slick, but it just gives that more casual shoe vibe. So from an aesthetic standpoint overall, I would like this for like an everyday shoe. I'm not sure how I'm gonna feel about it for running, but I think it's gonna be sneaky. I think that we're gonna find that there are a lot of enjoyable elements to this, and you wouldn't know it from looking at it. They say don't judge a book by its cover, so I'm not gonna judge a book by its cover. We'll see. So it's that time that I'm gonna take these out for a run. I will be reporting back very shortly and let you know all my thoughts and how these rank in the big scheme of things, and if these are truly another Thunderstruck shoe. Stay tuned. All right, everyone, I'm back from my run, and I have a lot to say about this shoe. I'm going to kind of approach this review a little differently than I have in previous reviews, because I just want to get to the point here. So I'm gonna go right into the ratings of this and then expand on all of those respective categories with my thoughts and feelings and impressions. So let's start with comfort. I did not find this shoe very comfortable, if I'm being completely honest. All of the things that it said between stepping into the shoe, that triple stack that is on the inside that's supposed to have a little bit more of that comfort when you step into it, was not really there for me. I'm going to go ahead and give this like a 6.8, which is one of my lower shoes. This truly felt like a shoe that you would not run in, which is what I was sort of anticipating, but I was trying to not judge a book by its cover. I really did want to like have a great experience with this, but it was so clunky too. When you hear somebody walking in a very flat shoe, that sound, that's how I felt walking in this and running. And the feeling when I was actually running, it didn't change. It felt very much so like I was running in like a Air Force shoe or something like that. It was not enjoyable. I wanted to get through with my, thank God I had a progressive run. I was able to pick up the pace as we went on. I really did want to get through it pretty quickly. I just didn't find this comfortable. Now, in terms of fit, it did fit very true to size, but it is on the more narrow side, if you can tell. These don't come in a wide to my understanding. So if you do have a wider foot, it's just probably not going to work for you. I felt like it was very snug along my foot, which also gave me kind of a concern as well, because I don't love a shoe that's too snug unless it's like a racing shoe. But even then, I want to have some malleability here so that it's not like really sucking in my foot and then having rubbing, especially like in the bunion region, heel region, all of that. But yeah, this just wasn't that comfortable. This is a shoe that the way it looks is how I would imagine it would be enjoyable for people to use it. I think this is a good shoe that you could throw on and go very casually. I just don't find this to be a true running shoe. And also something that was really interesting too, and is kind of gonna go, I think we could probably put it in the comfort categories. These kind of cutouts here, they go pretty low. There's not a lot of space between where your foot sits in the shoe bed and where the kind of cutouts are around your ankle. And I did feel like there was a lack of stability there. Now, this isn't meant to be a stability shoe, but it felt like it was coming off almost, and it wasn't. It was very secure. It was like the sensation that my ankle was spilling out, because there's not a lot of material there. Like where you see this top part here, that's about how much room we're working with here. So that was interesting too, and just not the most comfortable experience for me. In terms of the heat and everything, the mesh upper was pretty solid overall. I didn't find this to be uncomfortable on my foot. It was pretty snug, but it didn't really impact me overall. Performance. So my pace range was between 8:30 and 6:50. I was doing a progressive run, so I was able to kind of see everything in between for a long enough chunk of time. And I did not feel that these shined in any point within my pace ranges. So for that, I'm going to have to give it like a 6.7. As I mentioned in the previous category, I felt like I was running in like an Air Force shoe, like a very flat-footed shoe. I was clunking along. It was so loud, and it just wasn't coming to life. I didn't feel that bounce and that propelling that I would anticipate with a Pebax foam. I don't know what they were thinking here, if I'm being blunt. It didn't entice me to continue going and to try anything else. It was very much so flat across all those different paces. It didn't feel better and more enjoyable at those slower paces. It didn't feel like it came to life at faster paces. So for that, I just really can't give it a lot, just because it did not feel like it was meant to be ran in. It just didn't. Quality. Despite everything I just said, I would say the quality of the shoe overall is solid. This is where it gets a little gray, because when you're thinking of quality, I'm thinking of all of the components that go into making a shoe / running shoe. So because of that, as I don't feel that the quality elements here really were up to par with what it needed to be for running specifically, but the quality of the shoe overall is still relatively solid for just kind of an everyday shoe, I'm gonna go ahead and rank it at 7.2. Not terrible. We're passing. It's a C, but it just didn't shine. And the foam overall is solid. I do feel that this will hold up. I didn't feel that we were lacking in the quality of the foam. It just didn't have that performance element. So kind of going back to that previous category here, for a running shoe, the quality wasn't there. It didn't meet the need it should have had to perform as a running shoe. And the upper was great overall. The quality of this felt solid. I do feel that they did a really good job at creating an upper that was conducive for running. So that's a win. But it just didn't hit the mold of what it said it would do for a running shoe. The rhymes. The traction here on this outsole, I will say this quality was a little bit more impressive than I had anticipated. I didn't have high hopes for this. It had a lot of grip. It was very, very top of the line in terms of the grip there and the structure that we've got going on there. I don't know exactly the material that is going on here, but like I said, it is a very heavy sounding shoe. It doesn't really matter about the quality in terms of the grippage, but it was very flat footed feeling. It was odd. It was very unusual. So now price point. It's $198, and based on everything I just said, for a running shoe and an everyday trainer nonetheless, I'm going to go ahead and say this is really a 6.7. 8 again. I don't feel this is a reasonable price for one, really daily trainers in general. I feel like they tend to be a little bit lower. Some do creep up to 200, but this is not a good daily training running shoe. I really believe that. But I would love someone to push me here. And if you have had a better experience, please let me know. I'm not trying to say this is a one size fits all experience, because as we all know, for runners, there's thousands of different shoes out there. They are literally not going to be good for everybody. They just won't. Everyone has different preferences, different needs, different body compositions. All of that goes into play here. This just didn't do it for me. And because of that, the price point and how it ultimately performed, the quality and the comfort, it didn't stack up to some strong everyday shoe competitors in that 150 to 180 price point. It just didn't. So I don't feel that this was worth it. Now, price point for like a regular everyday kind of like leisurely shoe, think of like maybe an On or something that's a little like, of course On has running shoes as well, but they also do have just more casual, like trendy looking shoes. I think it could fit in that a little bit more competitively. Still a little bit pricier for sure, but I don't feel that everything that went into the shoe was worth this price point. Now, I'm sure these are high quality materials overall. I do believe that. I do know that the brand has a good reputation for having really good quality materials. Now, I don't have a ton of experience with it, but from everything I've heard and people I know who have tried the brand, and particularly their clothing, they've spoken highly of it. For the shoes, I mean, you feel it, you look at it, it's a sleek looking shoe. It's got everything that could make a solid shoe, just really miss the mark for the running performance and comfortability, in my opinion. Now, that being said, is this a Thunderstruck shoe? Unfortunately, it is not a Thunderstruck shoe. I'm very disappointed. I was hopeful that this would really surprise me. We don't judge books by their covers, but this one, I kind of was right. I really pushed down those feelings and thoughts, but it kind of landed where I thought it was going to land in the big scheme of things. So that's very unfortunate. I'm almost reluctant to try the racing version of this. Now, the racing does, from like a glance, look like it's going to be a better running shoe, but it can't be that much different than this. And that's almost a $300 shoe. So I don't know that there's enough there for me to really jump on board with that. Tracksmith, I'm sure you're a great company. I'm sure you have really good quality materials, but we just need to have some refinements here for the running world, especially if the brand is really based on runners. You would think, looking at really reputable shoe brands that have been in the industry for so long, that we could meet in the middle here. Have a good looking shoe, but meet the needs that runners have. So anyways, I digress. All right, everyone, that's it for this week. I may or may not have a video next week. I am traveling again, color nobody surprised. And because of that, I don't know that I'm gonna be able to squeeze it in. I do have a couple pairs of shoes in the lineup that I'm really excited to try and review for you. But as always, if there's anything that's just come out recently, or there's anything you've been itching to see or try, let me know, because I'm really excited as we kick off this new year to dip a toe into all the different types of shoes. All right, everyone, talk soon. Bye.